And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
And welcome to the Consumer Quarterback Show. We greatly appreciate you stopping by the studio here, hanging out with us. And we got a great lineup for you. Got attorney Frank Miranda in studio today. Going to be talking about some recent lawsuits, things happening in the legal space. And also Mark Haye, financial advisor, expert contributor here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And we'd like to help you win in your real estate deals as well, buying, selling, or investing. We feature our real estate listings live on air and help our sellers profit more, sell faster. And it's the Consumer Quarterback Show powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. We got some hot listings here in Tampa Bay, 6361 Highway 301. This is out in Riverview. It's a beautiful commercial property here in eastern Hillsborough County. It's a corner lot location, and this property has a lot of benefits. Your corner lot location, 50,000 vehicles a day passing by. You have an office space, of course, for your staff, and then in the back you've got the mechanic setup. So he's currently operating a U-Haul dealership. Had truck sales there, car sales before as well. One of our hot listings, commercial listing, is on US 301 South in Riverview. Beautiful property here in Tampa Bay. 6361 Highway 301 Riverview, and you can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right, and a quick shout out to our friend Ramin Kazami over at Heights Pressure Washing. He does a great job with our real estate properties. If you're looking to get a soft wash, he knows how to do it to where it's not going to affect your plants. It's time of year to do that as well. Great time of year to go into the the holiday season with your pressure washing. Heights Soft Wash Pressure Washing. My friend Ramin Kazami does a great job. All right, welcome into the show, Mark Haye. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. How are you doing, sir?
Excellent. Blessed and highly favored, man. Coming off a great event. Salem had a great event this weekend as well, and it was a good time. And yeah, so
I saw the photos. Look good.
Yeah.
And then I saw the Buccaneers lose to the Steelers, and then
I missed the whole entire game. Man. I was just running around doing stuff. But
sad.
I guess I didn't miss much.
Sad.
You know what else is sad is our economy and a lot of the stuff happening. Inflation. Seniors are losing a lot of their hard-earned retirement plans. Things are. Yeah, let's dive into that. So it's a little bit of an inverse relationship now. Typically, you'd see stocks, bonds kind of moving similar directions, but now what's happened lately? What's going on there?
Yeah, well, the interest rate's going up the way it has, and people don't understand too that 40% of all the cash that's circulating the economy right now has been printed in the last 12 months. So the inflation is going to continue to rise. They just announced an 8.7% increase in Social Security for next year,
right, for
senior citizens, which is great. But the problem is, how do you pay for it? Because as the interest rates go up, so does the interest on the debt, so does the interest on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. I mean, we're already 30+ trillion in debt. Just looking at that, not talking about the liabilities of Medicare, Medicaid, but give 8.7%. That just means the printing machine needs to get printing again, and it just seems like it's not going to end anytime soon as far as the interest rates. And interest rates continue to go up, bonds continue to go down. So the last 30, 40 years, we saw bonds going up because interest rates have been going down.
Yeah,
and
or they maintained at 0.25 forever, right?
Now interest rates have gone up drastically, and bonds have took a big hit this year, 12 to 15%, which is supposed to be a safe haven for monies, and all of a sudden they're getting hit 12%, not to mention the stock market going down 25%. And we were talking about hedge funds coming in and buying property, and the reason it was happening is because interest rates were so low, it's basically free money, or they had the cash to come in and scoop all these homes up,
right,
and then combat the inflation, which is happening. Whether rental or just keep the property in a portfolio and have that appreciate. And the state of Florida, and I said before, Ron DeSantis is probably the best realtor in all of Florida because he's bringing everybody here and everybody's buying these homes. And home prices have been crazy, but I think Tampa Bay's been undervalued for so long that I think
That's
Tampa Bay is finally keeping up with. This is where we should be, as far as real estate in Tampa Bay. And I think it's a good time still to buy in Tampa Bay area.
It is. I'm glad you said that, actually, because I talked to a lot of for sale by owners and also expired listings and canceled listings. Every morning I'm, on the phones making contacts, and the conversations are sometimes go like this. Oh, we took it off the market. We're going to rent it. Okay, I get it. That's cool. Rents are up. It makes sense. You can also look at it from a perspective of, well, we tried it for a while. It's not a good market. Like, what do you mean it's not a good market? I'll ask some open-ended questions, try to figure out where they're coming from. But the misconception, the overwhelming misconception is that we are in a bad market or some kind of a down market. It's a shifting market, okay? So what happens is when you're shifting from the low interest rate to high interest rate environment, buyers are losing their purchasing power, or some of their perceived purchasing power. Maybe they were looking 6-8 months ago and they could afford an $800,000 home. They were getting excited. They were on the water. They had a pool. They had, some extras. Now with that shift in rates, maybe that's a $600,000-$700,000 home. So they're losing $100,000, $150,000 of purchasing power. So that's affecting their motivation, and then that's going to perpetuate the higher days on market. So one of the key indicators is days on market with real estate. And then, of course, the biggest, in my opinion, is month's supply of inventory. So if a property's sitting on the market right now, it's overpriced. If you've been sitting for more than 30 days, it's not because you need an extra bedroom. It's not because you're not close to the park or you're on a conservation lot or all those other so-called excuses, right? It's because you're overpriced. You have to price, you have to change with the market. And that's where some people just don't have the appetite to sell.
Yeah, and people in the last couple of years, and you saw it, going up 30-40% a year in real estate, sometimes 100% in some areas, which was insane.
Right.
That's not realistic.
Right.
So do you expect that same type of gain or appreciation? It's just that's like once in a kind of lifetime situation that it happened.
Right.
Well, again, I do think Tampa Bay has been undervalued, so I do think Tampa Bay is continuing to be an appreciated market to be in. I think it's always a good time to kind of have real estate, especially in this area. In a couple of weeks from now, the voting is going to be happening, and it's going to matter. So I just hope the right people get in place, and we can maintain Florida and keep it the way it is.
Yeah. Let me ask you, so with all that said, by the way, if you just joined us, we're talking with Mark Haye, 21stfinancial.com, xxifinancial.com, that is, Mark Haye on the Consumer Quarterback Show, longtime friend of the program, financial advisor, expert contributor on the show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. Now, with all we've just said, traditional wisdom, or you would kind of think, or at least I did. I was in a conversation the other day with one of my friends that's, multimillionaire. He's traveling across the world all the time. He's like, hey, I love going to Italy right now. My dollar's going a lot further. I would traditionally think that, with all the news that we've seen, all the stuff happening, the printing of new dollars, that the American dollar would be weak right now, but it's not.
No, actually, our currency is actually the strongest,
right?
Out of all the currencies. So, there is no better place to live than America. I mean, we have our problems, that's for sure.
Right.
But yeah, our dollar is still very strong. But you look at like Japan or you look at China, Japan's market's been down for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where are you going to go to get any kind of return? Now, our cost of living has gone up. Just insane numbers in the last 12 months, and no one can argue that. And it certainly needs to be combated. And raising interest rates again is going to, I don't know what's going to do. Everything you do has a reaction. So as they keep raising interest rates, it's going to have a reaction that's going to be either negative or positive. But that being said, that's why I think real estate is still a good investment, because 6-7% on a mortgage is average. I mean, 2% is crazy, and that's what it was, 2.5%, 3%, and that's just not realistic,
sustainable.
And then again, it's great to have 2.5% interest rate on a mortgage, but that's when the hedge funds come in, because now it's cheap money and they can come and buy up all these houses. And the problem is, when they buy those houses up, they're never going to be back on the market for the individual family. They're going to sell that to another hedge fund, or they're going to sell that portfolio to a company, and
right.
those homes are basically gone for individuals or the families.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they want to rent them. That's correct. That's the whole deal. They want to rent it out, and it's, instead of being a country that's based on personal property ownership. When you own property, you have a lot more pride in it, right? You're going to be able to build your family here. You're gonna take more pride in that. When you're renting, it's call the landlord, maybe, don't worry about it. We're out of here in 6 months anyway.
Right. Anything that's given to you, you're not going to take care of it as if you work for that and you got your blood, sweat, tears, and money into something. You're obviously going to take a lot more pride in that asset.
Yeah. And so I want to look at cost of, so you mentioned cost of living. Cost of living going up pretty strong here lately, significantly. And then I saw one of the stats. There's something like 4 to 5 million people that were behind to a point on their utility bills, to where probably going to start getting utility bills cut off in November, December. And then also overseas in Europe, there's the crisis now with the energy, the fuel and energy crisis with the pipeline being cut off. That's got to have a ripple effect on us.
Yeah, and it has a ripple effect on people that have fixed income. Retired people that have fixed income. And that being said, too, the tax notices are coming off for real estate, being due next month. Everybody that bought their homes a year ago or 2 years ago is getting that new tax bill, and they're going to basically freak out because it's going to be 3 or 4 times higher than what they thought it was going to be. So you got the cost of living going up. You got your taxes going to due for your property tax. The mortgage is probably going to go up because of that. So it's
property
just a lot
insurance,
happening. Correct.
hurricane.
I mean, property insurance is just through the roof as well here in
Wind
Florida.
insurance.
So that's the hard thing when you mitigate any kind of retirement, is how do you mitigate market taxes and the cost of living, and where do you get that safe kind of returns where you can mitigate that stuff. And certainly we focus on all of that and we help our clients. But it's definitely something that's this year has been very challenging. If you would have retired January 1st of this year, you would experience the market decline of 30%, and you would experience 30% increase in cost of goods.
Right.
So
puts you in a bad position.
It's just a bad position. If you don't have money that's safe, fixed, any kind of pension, lifetime income, it's scary times. And if your whole portfolio is in the market, bouncing with the bonds and the stocks, and that's when people can run out of money later in life just because you started retirement and a down market.
Well, that's a good tease for what we're going to talk about. When we come back, I want to give some of the solutions. We've kind of identified some of the problems, things of that nature. Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial, xxifinancial.com. We're going to talk with him on the flip side of this break. And we're going to talk about, what are the solutions? How do you mitigate the taxes, the cost increases, all of those, basically a tax on your money in retirement when it really matters. More with Mark Haye here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Check us out online, consumerqb.com.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Hey, Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, in studio with Martine Gramatica, that is, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer Super Bowl winner. Lifeguard Imaging, lifeguardimaging.com, saving lives through early detection.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Yes, that's what we're doing at Lifeguard Imaging. You come in asymptomatic, and that's what we do. You're being proactive. You're coming in. We do a scan from the neck to the pelvis. It's a full body scan. It's a 3D image of every organ, and that's where 90% of the deadliest cancers are, in our mid-region. So we can see everything. But for your listeners, we have a real good special. We have a $599 value, absolutely complimentary. They can come in for a coronary artery scan, which will give you their calcium score, 100% complimentary for your people.
Very cool. Hey, take them up on that offer, 813-917-1894. Call or text, complimentary scan, 813-917-1894, and check them out online, lifeguardimaging.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
Have you desired more income and more freedom in your life? Now is your time. Keller Williams Realty has just launched our own real estate school, and you can get licensed for free. I'm Brandon Rhymes, host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, owner of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. And for the first 3 people who reach out, I will personally coach you. 813-917-1894. Call or text 813-917-1894. ConsumerQB.com. ConsumerQB.com.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We greatly appreciate you calling in, supporting the show. Support the hotline, 813-917-1894. Just call or text. Any questions you have, we'd love to put you in touch with our 80 different categories. Over 50 different show partners. We're bringing in CPAs, financial advice, as of course Mark Haye today, attorneys, all types of great companies on the program. So reach out to the show. We'd love to connect you. 813-917-1894, consumerqb.com. And we like to feature our real estate listings live on air. We help our sellers profit more, sell faster. 1618 De Leon. This is a property right there in Hyde Park. You've got a corner lot location. This is a Mediterranean Palace, just a gorgeous property. 1618 West De Leon Street, Tampa. 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bath. You've got walkability. You can walk to all the different restaurants and bars down there. Have a good time. Vaulted ceiling, stainless steel appliances. Hyde Park district of Tampa. People love living close to the walkability there, as you have in the Hyde Park Village. 1618 West De Leon Street in Tampa. And you can see all of our listings at PlatinumMVPTeam.kw.com.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet.
All right, Mark, so let's talk a little bit about the solutions. We've identified, the problems, the challenges, what's going on. What can people do? I think, they're driving in their vehicle now, or they're maybe listening to our Repurpose podcast on iTunes, and you think about, what are the solutions to these problems? How do I mitigate the taxes, the cost of living increases, et cetera?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the taxes real quick. The government's not stupid. They put everybody into IRA, 401k, 403bs, SEP IRAs, pension plans, ESOPs, whatever you want to do, and that's all going to be taxed later. Okay. So you can get a deduction today by putting your monies into it, but later down the road, you're going to be taxed on those withdrawals. Well, the rate we're going, we don't think taxes are going to go down in the kind of future. Or you can't print money, and you can't have this kind of debt and lower taxes anymore. And so when you retire, you're going to be at the mercy of the government, and they're going to tell you, okay, we want 40% this year, or 50%, whatever that is, of that dollar. Right. Okay. Now, certainly, we tell people the magic number for that kind of money, qualified money IRA, is about $500,000. You get over that, you're going to have a problem. The reason I say that is the standard deduction is $25,900 a year. So a married couple can pull out $25,900 from those accounts and be tax-free. Okay. Okay. So that's like the most perfect investment. You deduct it today, and you pull it out tax-free in retirement. Right. Okay. Now, where do you get the rest of the money? Well, they only give you 2 options. You can do a Roth IRA, or you can do life insurance retirement plan. Those are the only 2 options. So you can either put into your Roth 401k, Roth IRA, or you can put into your life insurance retirement plan, and then that money is going to be tax-free. If you do it correctly, and we certainly can help clients do that, or people do that, if you do it correctly, you would have multiple streams of income, whether it's from the LIRP policy, whether it's from your Roth 401k IRA, your IRA coming out traditional, and then your Social Security. If you do it properly, you're going to get Social Security tax-free, your IRA tax-free, the life insurance tax-free, and you're going to get the Roth tax-free, which means it doesn't matter if taxes go to 50, 60, 70%, you're still paying zero. So the biggest thing I tell people is I don't really care about the returns, because everybody can get returns. We can go into the market, we can get 6%, it doesn't matter. But if you can eliminate that 30, 40, 50% tax from your portfolio, that is a huge burden that you don't have to worry about in retirement. And every dollar that you get is yours. I mean, you're going to live a very comfortable retirement and be tax free. And we think that taxes are just going to have to double. They're going to have to double, and that's something that we look at all the time when we do planning for people.
And isn't there something to the effect also when you're pulling money out in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you're contributing to your end game, so the idea is that at the end of your earning potential, when you get into your 60s, 70s, and 80s, and you're pulling that money out, you're at a lower income bracket as well.
Well, it's perceived that way, but then you look at reality. You don't have any more kids, so you have no deductions there. Okay. Typically, your mortgage is paid off when you go into retirement. Okay. Sometimes it's not, but typically it's not. So you don't have the interest there you can write off. Right. So you don't have a business anymore. You're retired. So there's no write-offs anymore there. So basically everything you have now is going to be taxable without having a write-off.
It's going to be earned income?
Earned income, taxable income. Okay. So if you can do it correctly, like I just said, you take the IRA or 401k and you have just enough in there to satisfy the requirement distribution or your standard deduction of $25,900, you get that tax-free. Then you take the rest from the Roth, you take the rest from the life insurance plan, you take your Social Security tax-free, you got 4 or 5 streams of income all coming to you tax-free. And again, it doesn't matter what taxes due. And then hence the power of zero in that situation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You go to 30, 40, 50%, and it doesn't matter to you because you're paying zero.
Well, sign me up.
The key is the Social Security coming in tax free. You want
say
that.
that again. The key is
Social Security coming in tax free.
Social Security coming in tax free.
So if you can keep under that provisional income of $25,900, and you can get other source of income from the Roth and the life insurance, you get that Social Security tax free, and both the husband and wife are getting tax free. Let's say it's $2,000 a month each or $5,000 total. That's a big chunk of money coming to you tax free.
Yeah, I like it. I want to play this clip here. I was listening to Tony Robbins' podcast. I went to his business mastery course a while back. A lot of folks that know me or listen to the show often know he's a big time mentor of mine. He had an investment gentleman that was on. He's actually an author. He wrote The Forthcoming. It was a pretty cool book about the generations and how different. If you're born in the Depression and you're going to look at life a little bit different than somebody that came out of as a millennial or a Gen Xer like me. Here's the quick little talk he had about investment. So I thought of you. I wanted to play it.
We have about 40% of U.S. treasuries are owned by foreigners today.
So you're going to have a period of inflation in products and probably deflation of assets simultaneously.
Yeah, this is very bad, and you have to be very careful. And I don't know if someone's going to talk about this later about where to invest in a forward turning. But
I'd love to tell us your perspective.
Well, first of all, get out of nominally denominated fixed income assets. That's the first thing, because those are ruined by inflation.
Bonds.
And you would have done better if you had gotten out of them about 6 months ago. But they still don't look good. So you get out of those. And the whole business of sort of the parity arrangement where, you do stocks and bonds together because when one rises, the other goes down.
That's what we talked about earlier. But any nuggets in there?
Yeah, so it talked about the bonds going down with interest rates. So we position the bond portfolio into cash value now. The reason you do that is because cash value goes with interest rates. So if you think that interest rates are going to continue to keep going up like they have, then you want to participate in that inflation hedging. So, inflation protection. So we move a bond portfolio into cash value, keep the equities as is, and it just all it does is it help combat inflation.
Right.
So instead of working against inflation, you're going to work with the inflation.
Right.
And so a bond portfolio is just that, safe money, fixed money, but unfortunately the bonds have taken a big hit, but we've been moving bond portfolios into cash value, and now we're enjoying the returns of inflation rising.
Right.
And keeping up with that.
And at some point we had talked about what if the interest rates continue to rise. In my opinion, I know there's a lot of people that say, well, you have to. I mean, that's conventional wisdom, right? Is you have to raise rates to slow down the economy. But, if you think about that, look at what it's going to do, because we're already seeing the effects on the real estate market. If we continue to raise rates and we're at 8, 9, 10, 12%, the housing market is going to come to a screeching halt. You're gonna further disenfranchise, maybe not the best word, but home builders and people that are buying. So what my point is, look, one of the main drivers we have in our economy is real estate, mortgage, title, home insurance, roofing company, the home improvement business. We're going to really slow that sector down, and then what else do we have, right?
Yeah, well, I mean the stock market and the bond market all went down, but real estate stayed up. So if you slow that down, it's going to be catastrophic at that point, because where else are you going to put the money to get any kind of returns with inflation? Right. Now, luckily, we're in Florida, but you're going to see, like California's already seeing it, Illinois, Jersey, New York. They're going to take some massive hits in real estate as this continues to go up.
20 seconds to you, my friend. How do you want people to connect?
Yeah, you can text or call me, 727-804-7220. I'd be happy to meet with you. It's free to meet with us, and we're not going to waste anybody's time. And certainly love to help as many people as possible.
Yeah, free meeting, consultation, get the advice, and get a review too, right? You'll take a look
Absolutely.
at what they've been doing. Hey, here's
What
a
they
review.
want to try to accomplish, etc.
Right. All right. XXIFinancial.com. Mark Haye, longtime friend of the program. Of course, you can reach out to the show hotline. We'll put you in touch as well. 813-917-1894. Attorney Frank Miranda coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And make sure you follow us online at Brandon Rhymes1 on Instagram, Twitter, Getter, all the major sites. And, of course, our YouTube channel has a lot of our video content there as well. We'll be right back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Five, four, three, two, one.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP team, Keller Williams Realty. We like to help you sell your real estate. Of course, here in Tampa Bay, we're a top 100 ranked team, and we help our sellers profit more, sell faster, utilizing our innovations with radio, TV, and internet marketing. And we feature our listings live on air here to maximize that exposure for you. 2803 Safe Harbor Drive in Tampa. This is a $1 million listing, and it's actually just reduced. So the owner is motivated. 2803 Safe Harbor Drive in Tampa. One of our listings. It's a corner lot location. You got a pool, spa, executive style home, beautiful spiral staircase in the home, over 5,200 square feet. Beautiful property here with some awesome built-ins and nice tile flooring, granite. Great opportunity. 2803 Safe Harbor Drive in Tampa. And you can see all of our real estate listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Buy dirt. Find one you can't live without.
And you can also buy dirt. We got a lot of vacant land listings, commercial land, residential development opportunities. I-75 in Fowler, I've got a $4 million listing there. Beautiful properties, great opportunities here in Tampa Bay. All right, let's welcome in Attorney Frank Miranda. Welcome back, sir.
How you doing, Brandon? How you been?
Excellent. Yes, sir. Blessed and highly favored.
We're lucky.
Working hard.
We're a lot better than most. And,
yeah.
And in the whole country, you think about it.
Exactly.
we have a lot of complaints, like we talked about before, and the guest before. We have a lot of complaints, and that's normal in this country, and it's great to have an opinion.
Yep.
But in the grand scheme of things, we're still number one.
That's right. We are. People want to be here. They're trying to get here, through any means necessary, right?
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, unless we lived in a hut, we wouldn't really understand what it takes to trying to get here.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Right. You can't blame them. They're going to try to get here. I mean, my parents were first generation from Portugal, or not my parents, my grandparents. So on my dad's side, so think about back in the day, they jumped on a big ship from Portugal or Europe or Spain or
same
wherever.
Story. Yeah, I'm in the same story. My grandfather on my father's side was the first one in this country, and you can't blame people for wanting better.
Exactly. Absolutely.
We just hopefully can sit down and find a solution.
Right. Exactly. So let's talk about that. Let's get into it. So you are heavy in the legal profession. You do a lot in the real estate space. You also own a title company, and we do some closings with you guys. Stephanie, you got a great team over there on the title side. But today, I think you said you wanted to mention some of your recent lawsuits.
Yeah. So we're talking earlier and talking to some of your guests before about what's going on in the economy, and unfortunately, sometimes the people you trust the most are the people that you ultimately shouldn't have trusted. And what I mean by that, there's a couple of lawsuits I filed recently whereby a person holds a piece of property for the benefit of somebody else. That's the deal. Okay, so it doesn't really matter why, but they're going to put a piece of property, let's say, in your uncle's name. Okay, and nothing against your uncle. This is just an example.
Yeah, just an example.
Just an example. And so what happens, what has occurred is, the person that you're holding it for has made payments, has arranged for the down payment. Maybe the mortgage is even in your uncle's name. And perhaps there's a falling out. Perhaps there's a situation where uncle has a financial situation and all of a sudden says, I'm going to sell the property, keep the money. And that's happened at least to some of my clients in 2 or 3 times in the last 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
And it seems to be a trend. Surprisingly, having someone else hold property in your name is more common than people think, for a variety of reasons.
In their name?
Yeah, in someone else's name, right? Third party's name. And then, but when you allow somebody the opportunity and you give them that kind of authority over your documents, not your document, your property, and they have written documents that indicate they're the owner of this piece of property, you're giving that person a lot of power.
Right.
And so it's an uphill battle, but it's not a battle that you can't win, because clearly you can show who paid for the property. Clearly you can show through other people who know what the relationship is about to come forth and testify. Right. And say, hey, this was a deal between these people, and there's acknowledgments. Some of them are in text messages, some of them are in emails. And so that helps create the evidence to say, yes, this was the agreement between the parties. This was never an intent for the party to have, quote unquote, legal ownership.
Right.
That the people that making the claim that they are really the owners, or quote the beneficial owners, and they should have title placed back in their name. I've seen that situation where a son has done that to their own mother. Jeez. I've seen a situation where a daughter's done that to her own parents.
Wow.
I've seen a situation where a friend has done that to another friend. And so it's always a person of confidence and someone that you have faith in and trust in that's going to do the right thing. And ultimately the person, for whatever reason, whether it's financial, typically it's financial reason from their part. They need the money in some regard. Or I can't even speculate what else, because anything else would be a bad soul. I'm just going to steal from you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's been happening quite frequently in the phone calls and the consultations I've been having.
Right. So when you're in that situation, somebody brings that case to you, at that point you're basically hired to say, look, let's build a case against that person, that situation.
Right. So the theory would be, though, even though there's not a written document that says, hey, this, Joe Uncle in this case is holding the property for my benefit. Typically that's done in a procedural process. If you did it correctly, it would be under a trust, right? Everyone had a trust. This is the trustee. He's holding this property for my benefit, the benefit of the beneficiary. But a lot of people don't either have the money to create a trust. They have complete faith in this person, so they don't bother with the formalities of it. And so the law recognizes what's called an equitable trust or constructive trust, and that's a court of equity, where a court in equity would sit in, a judge would sit in and say, these are the facts as I see them. Joe Uncle was holding the property for, in this case, his mother, or in this case, it could have been his sister or his parents, whatever the case may be. If those are the facts, the court is going to create effectively a trust for the benefit of those people. And the court has a wide variety of things they can do that would make the beneficiary, the real person that owns the property, whole.
Right.
He could force the transfer of the property. I've had judges issue orders where, without the assistance of the other party, here's an order transferring this property to this person.
Wow. Transfer the deed.
Right, because if you force a person to sign the deed, they never show up.
Right.
Then there's contempt hearings, and they're on the lam, and they never show up, and it ties up the property unnecessarily, and you can't really do anything with it.
Yeah, and the court system too.
Right. And so, fortunately, I've had judges that have done the right thing and said, well, by me issuing this order, the person who I think is the wrong person, who's acted as trying to effectively rip off this other person.
Exactly.
I don't need them to cooperate. I'm transferring the property right now, pursuant to this order, into in this case, the mother's name.
Yeah.
And so, it's a sad thing to say. Obviously, when I consult with my clients, I see what evidence they have regarding that, what witnesses they have regarding that situation, what the agreement was. And if I believe it, I know it gets me upset. It should upset most people that this shouldn't happen. And so that's a situation where, when you really think you've done something right for the client, you've done something right really for society. Okay, you have stopped a harm.
Yep.
You prevented somebody from becoming unjustly enriched. And really, that family, it's typically family. That family is never going to have a relationship with that person anymore anyway.
Right.
But you made sure that typically the elder person, it's always someone older in this situation, at least it's been in my case with my clients, the older person's been protected by a younger person that they wrongfully had faith in.
Yeah, Lady Justice comes through. And I imagine you're looking at check stubs, bank statements, et cetera, building whatever case, compiling text messages and emails, et cetera.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it makes it a lot easier when you figure out that, again, we'll use Joe Uncle as the person holding the property, that it's clear he put no money in the property. It's clear he paid no tax on the property, paid no insurance on the property. Well, how do you explain, Joe Uncle, how someone just put a house into your name for any given reason?
Right.
I mean, it wasn't a gift. There's no indication it was a gift. There's no emails you can produce that it was a gift. There's nothing other than potentially what you came up to say it was a gift.
Yeah.
And so when people are planning for their retirement, and that is their major asset.
Right.
Why are they going to gift that away to you when you know that they need that money to survive the remaining 10, 15, 20 years of their life?
And this is civil cases, so this is not the same level of proof as a murder case, right? This is
right.
What is it? Preponderance of the evidence.
It's preponderance of the evidence. In a criminal case, it's by reasonable doubt.
Yeah. And
so it's ever so slightly. So there's never a percentage put to it in law school, but it's ever so slight. A little bit more than 50%, you win.
Right.
I think some of these cases could be criminal.
Right.
I mean, I think they're trying to steal a major asset, which is a felony amount, and this amount would be first-degree felony based upon over $20,000. Trying to steal an asset that's over $20,000. Some of this should be criminal.
That's first-degree felony is $20,000 cut off?
Yeah, I think it's 20. It's been a long time since I've messed. I mean, that's probably 20 years ago that I messed around with criminal law, but I think it's 20 grand.
Yeah.
And so some of the stuff should be criminal. And when you hear the stories and how it affects these people, that their major assets gone, they can't do anything with it, they can't sell it, they can't rent it.
Yeah.
All they have is an expense of trying to maintain it. That's a great example of how being a lawyer and doing something in litigation gives you a feeling that you've done something right.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's great stuff. FCMlaw.com, Frank Charles Miranda Law.com. More with Frank Miranda coming up here on the flip side. Great story. Thank you for that, Frank. We're going to come back. We have our feel-good story as well. Pregnant Maryland firefighter goes into labor after car crash and then helps another victim before giving birth. So our feel-good story of the day coming up here. More with attorney Frank Miranda. Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone. You've been listening to the phenomenal Brandon Rhymes, the Consumer Quarterback Show.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Hey, Brandon Rhymes here. We are looking for real estate investors. We've got a new relationship bringing us a tremendous amount of off-market real estate investment opportunities. So text the word investor to our hotline, 813-750-0550. Off-market real estate investment opportunities. Text investor to 813-750-0550. Brandon Rhymes here, Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, looking for real estate investors. Send us a text.
Selling commercial or residential property? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. Reach me at 813-670-7372 or platinummvpteam.com.
Hey, Brandon Rhymes here for Cleaning Commandos here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Cleaning Commandos are hiring, and they're offering competitive wages, flexible hours, relaxed atmosphere, and a sign-on bonus. Reach out if you'd like a career with the Cleaning Commandos here in Tampa Bay. Info at cleaningcommandosllc.com or call 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550. Cleaning Commandos, Consumer Quarterback Show.
You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, we're back. Brandon Rhymes, Consumer Quarterback Show. Attorney Frank Miranda here in studio. Before we jump back into this content, let you know about our feel-good story of the day.
Tell me something good.
All right, so Megan Warfield is a career firefighter with Baltimore County and a member of the Bowley's Quarters Volunteer Fire Department. The 30-year-old was heavily pregnant on desk duty when involved in a multi-car collision earlier this month. Despite her condition, she sprung into action to help another driver trapped in an overturned car, ignoring any chance that she could be injured. Warfield ended up holding on to the victim to keep her head in place. She was unsure of her injuries at the time. It was also important that I keep her calm, the mom of two added. She says, quote, "It was a pretty traumatic event." Shortly after paramedics arrived, Warfield went to a hospital to get herself checked out. The accident had induced labor, and she would later learn knocked her unborn baby into a sideways position. Less than 24 hours later, Warfield and her boyfriend added a third child to their family, a healthy little girl named Charlotte. Job well done indeed, it says. So, feel-good story of the day right there, Frank. Do you like that one?
I'll tell you what, I do like that one. And that woman is a superstar.
Yeah.
I can't imagine all that going on. I mean, it's almost like you're surreal, right? It's like,
Yeah.
She's helping this person, and she's going into labor, probably having contractions. I can't fathom that.
Right.
And, God bless her.
Yeah, God bless her. And then, these women too, just being pregnant, just having, 20, 30, 40 extra pounds or whatever, it's like carrying a sack of potatoes around all day, a couple sacks of potatoes, right?
They're stronger than we are.
They are. They do a greater service to society than, a lot of men do, and put it that way. But,
I agree.
So let's talk about a little bit about, the other aspects of your business. You do a lot of title law as well. So anybody out there trying to do a for sale by owner, et cetera, we don't recommend those obviously as a real estate agent, but some people do, Frank, and they can go directly to you guys. You'll help them kind of through the process for sale by owners. And then we were talking a little bit about potential for short foreclosures. Right now, you said mainly like private lenders is what you're seeing.
Yeah. So, fortunately, I have clients that are they're private lenders, and they've lent on first, second mortgages on different pieces of property, whether residential or commercial. I've seen some of those that I'm filing suit on for foreclosure, where the borrower's fallen behind in an unfortunate situation. But I think that's going to happen. There's always going to have, whether in good times or bad overall, that foreclosures always occur because, be it someone gets ill and they can't work and they fall behind, or be it that, whatever business they're in, there's a law change or a tax, or, you're talking about supply chains that happen, that they can't keep up selling their widgets that they're selling. It always happens. The question is, does it spike? Does it come in waves like it did in, God knows, 2007?
Yep.
Where the floor just kind of fell out of all of us. And fortunately, I don't see that situation to that degree happening here. Mainly because there's too many people moving here, and I think there's still demand. And if you still have a nice property and you still price it according to the comps, and you're not unreasonable, and you don't try and artificially inflate it to create some sort of bidding war that's no longer here, that was here 6 months ago.
Yep.
If you have a trained professional like yourself that knows what they're doing, play the hand you're dealt. Don't overplay your hand.
Right.
Because ultimately, the buyers know your hand. They know if you're holding an ace, 2 pairs of aces, or they know you're holding 2 pairs of fives. They know that.
Yep.
And so it's something that you're not going to out-trick anyone at this market.
Right.
And so just go ahead and show your hand. Be truthful and forthright. And I think if once you do that, what I'm seeing is if you're correctly priced, I see properties that are, they're not selling in 2 days, but they're clearly selling. They're under contract within 30.
Yeah.
Okay. And historically speaking, again, like your prior guess was right on point. This is not the interest rate we really wanted as a consumer, right? You love the 2 and 3%, but that's not realistic. That's once generational. That's a generational, gimmick, so to speak.
Got lucky.
Yeah, you got really lucky. So if you have it, keep it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's free. It's almost free money. And so, now it's back to reality, and this is kind of what reality is. And if there's another tick, there's another tick. But ultimately, I think you're going to see it get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think every generation, like think of World War II or Korea or Vietnam, and then you had the Woodstock phase. I'm sure parents all over were going, "This is the worst generation. Our country's going to hell in the handbasket."
Yeah.
I think everyone says that, but I think once you take a breath, somehow we always land on our feet. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Right? We have checks and balances, and one idea is too extreme, so let's go back a little bit more toward the center and we'll work it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree.
We'll work it out.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, when you're in the moment, I know, especially for like personal events or personal crisis, whenever you're in the moment, it always seems worse than it is.
Right.
Right. And that's good. That's with bad and good. So sometimes you're on these highs and you're like, oh wow, this is going to be. Got to keep yourself in that middle ground sometimes.
I think that's a great point. I think we completely overreact. Right.
Yeah.
Something happens, and all of a sudden there's this flood of proposed litigation. Or not litigation, legislation, we can try and fix this problem.
Right.
The problem with that is, and we don't live in a perfect world, so this one solution doesn't cause or doesn't fix the problem with a little bit different facts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we overreact, and it's to an extreme. And so, from my perspective, you look at laws and you look at how judges interpret them. Some of those laws don't fit every kind of situation out there. And literally, the truth and what reality is much different than what we can conjure up in our mind. Meaning, there's scenarios that come up in real life that we never even thought of, right? So, how do we deal with this? Because this law is so extreme one way or the other. There's no wiggle room for a judge.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some wiggle room for all the laws. Just kind of interpret. Let's recognize the fact that not one situation or one answer fits all the problems.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, especially with internet and social media, and if you get into that thing, I wanted to ask you something too. Because sometimes when it comes to selling an asset in a creative situation, you're thinking, well, my property's not moving. Yeah, sure, I would be open to holding paper on this, right? So holding a private mortgage.
I think it's a great idea.
What's some of the challenges? What have you seen, and what advice would you have on that?
I would say first and foremost, if you're looking for a continual, what I'll call mailbox money, right? It's a continual source of income on a monthly basis. It's a great idea. I think you're going to make more money on the interest rate than you're going to if you put the money in the bank. So if you're doing seller financing, most people are going to charge more than what a bank is going to charge. Because your buyer typically is not going to qualify for a bank, you're accepting more risk.
Right.
In exchange for accepting more risk, you get a better interest rate.
Right.
So why not charge 8-9% if you can get it every month? And so I would require, or I would recommend to my client, if you were going to do that, let's get a healthy down payment, at least 20% down. If the person doesn't perform, you have the equity in that house that you can go after, or you can go after the asset, I should say, on the mortgage aspect and foreclose. Now, is that desirable? No, you just want everyone to pay on a monthly basis and you want it to go smoothly. However, it gives you some protection that based upon the down payment, that when you take the property back, it's going to equal the amount of money at least that's owed back to you.
Well, that's the next question that I always get is, when I say, yeah, let's do that, as long as you were get, 30% down roughly, give or take, the next question they have is, well, how much would it cost me to foreclose? And that's where it gets complicated, right? Because if they file a bankruptcy, now they're protected, and
Well, they're really not. That's a little of a fallacy. I mean,
Is it?
It'll slow the process down. So if you have to foreclose on somebody that you have lent money to on a piece of property and they file bankruptcy,
Yeah.
it'll stop the process in state court, okay? But you get around that, just an extra step. You got to go to the bankruptcy court and say, I am a secured creditor.
Okay.
I have security for this, and it's the house. Allow me to go back to state court and finish my foreclosure.
And they're still in bankruptcy.
And they're still in bankruptcy, and you will get that order.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Now, it may take you 6 months to do it because it takes time to get it done.
Right.
But you're going to get that order, and you'll be allowed to foreclose.
And cost-wise, I know it's hard to...
Okay. The biggest thing is the filing fee. The filing fee is based upon the amount of the mortgage and the value of the house. So in 2007, the clerk of the court realized we are killing ourselves. We're swamped with all these foreclosures. They were charging a flat rate of like $250, $300.
Okay, so
now
it's
based on the value, and so now it goes up as high as $2,000 just to file.
Just to file. Okay,
Right,
then
and
you
so-
got attorney's fees
Then
of
you have
$400,
attorney's fees.
$600 an hour.
Right. If you go to somebody good.
Right.
And so with that being the case, you get to tack that on to your judgment amount.
Okay.
All right. So that's a cost you should be able to recoup
if you win.
Right. So
most likely you should.
Right. Most likely you should. And then so unless there's some sort of fraud or something involved that I can't even think about here.
Right.
But once you foreclose, the house goes out to public bid. If you want to bid on it, great. You don't have to. The highest bidder gets it, and then you would bid up to your judgment amount. And so if someone matches that,
right,
or exceeds that, they get the house, but you get paid off entirely, which would recoup your attorney's fees.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're the highest bidder and you haven't gone up the judgment amount, you get the house back. You get to resell it again.
I've talked to people that have that happen 2 or 3 times. They tell me a story. So and so bought it, boom, 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 3 different times. So now they've made all this money on this home, keep the home, sell it again. It's like.
I know people that have sold the same commercial property that had a restaurant bar on it 4, 5, 6, 7 times.
Yeah. Especially bars and restaurants. Those are tough ones. Frank, how do you want folks to find you, connect with you online?
Online, feel free to email me. You can email me a question at frank@fcmlaw.com. If you want to get a general overview of the firm, it's fcmlaw.com, and our phone number is 813-254-2637.
All right, good stuff. Always a pleasure having you in studio, Frank. Appreciate that. Great information and some interesting stories there, man.
Thanks.
My pleasure. All right. Hey, another great show. I want to thank all of our listeners, producers out there, folks behind the scenes making it happen, and of course you for engaging with the Consumer Quarterback Show. Please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. We'll see you next time. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Call Brandon Rhymes at 813-917-1894. That's 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show.